Hello everyone, welcome back to Stars of the Diamond, and today I'm going to be sharing one of my favorite pickups of the year. And I've been meaning to share this for a while. It's not a new pickup by any stretch of the imagination, but it's one that when I got it I was really excited about. And basically what this is this is an original collection of 19th and 20th century tobacco cards, a type collection if you will. And this was compiled by someone, I'm guessing in the 1950s, 60s, maybe into the 70s. Here's the person's name. It's S. Dickey of Glen Head, New York. And it's the type collection of British cigarette card issues beginning in 1888. This particular album was his U.S. 19th and 20th century tobacco cards. So in this album, he has compiled, at the time, keep in mind, there wasn't plastic pages and holders like we have them today. And so this particular collection was put together on this very brittle paper, and it's pretty extensive. And if you don't know what a type collection is, a type collection is one from each series. Okay, this is going to be a little bit of a longer video, so I don't want to labor too long before I get into it, but it's a pretty comprehensive collection, especially given that someone probably put this together in the 1960s or so. That would be my guess as to the timeline. Starts with 19th century cards and goes into 20th century, and there's some really, really cool gems in here, okay? And so I'm going to kind of cover, I don't have them, I think, in order right now. They may even be backwards. This album is falling apart. The pages are just kind of falling apart in my hand. So once I share this, I will be kind of taking these cards out of the album. Okay, but I kind of wanted to, you know, memorialize or immortalize this collection in its original state before kind of taking it apart. But so as you can kind of see, I'm going to flip it over to the first page and I'm going to kind of share. Now here is the Allen and Ginter types. And these are 19th century tobacco cards. And one thing to kind of keep in mind with 19th and 20th century tobacco cards in the American card catalog, they're organized differently. And 19th century tobacco cards are organized in a way that it's by brand. And so the first, 64 or 65 sets, actually I think up to about 70, just short of 70, are all Allen and Ginter series. And then starting in 70, you get the Actors and the Duke series. So it starts with Ginter. And so the first 69 numbers are, I believe, designated for Ginter issues. And they start here in this particular series. We have N1 with the American editors, and they were organized by brand alphabetically. So American editors, American Indian chiefs, arms of all nations, birds of America, city flags. We get down to F and G and all that kind of stuff until we get to world's champions down here on the bottom. But that's kind of how they're organized, so don't want to labor that too much. I think I covered that a little bit in an earlier series about the American card catalog. But we're going to kind of cover these, and when I got this, I think there was a little question as to whether or not these were glued into the album, and they're not. So before pages, people would tip them in using these little corners. And as you can kind of see, these cards are not actually in. And so some of these cards may be from albums, things like that, but it seems like it's pretty clearly that the cards should be in fairly nice condition, however they were collected. But some of the more significant series of these Ginter issues is the editors are always really popular. There's a Joseph Pulitzer in that set that kind of sells for a lot. The American Indian chiefs are really popular. The arms of all nations, all different weapons from around the world. We've got flags. We've got Fruits, which is a little bit of a tougher issue. The Great Generals is a really popular one. Into the Natives in Costumes. Lots of bird issues. Ginter loved their birds. Types of All Nations. We've got Wild Animals, World's Beauties. And down here we have sort of the two probably most valuable series on this page, the two World's Champions. And the N28s and the N29s, first series and second series. The second series guy here is just a all-around athlete, not particularly crazy expensive. But our N28 is Buffalo Bill Cody, which is a pretty significant card in and of itself. So again, these cards, and I may just kind of do a quick experiment here just to see, because again, I will be removing these cards when I'm done with this video, but I kind of want to show you. So I kind of took off the bottom tab for the Cody, and he kind of slides right out. So we kind of get to see what his back looks like. And there's some issues, but nothing terrible. So it has an original collector stamp on it, and some light little check marks as to probably who this particular person had received at that point. But that back is fairly, I mean, it's fairly clean. It's better than kind of having a big old paper loss or something like that. But so these cards do kind of come out, and again, I feel bad kind of destroying this album, but it's not going to survive. These pages are just falling apart. So just for preservation purposes alone, these cards will be removed. But by making this video, I'm kind of immortalizing, and I'm going to place that card over here for the time being so he doesn't get lost. But that's sort of N1 to about N30 here. Okay, so now we're going to go on to our next page, and we can kind of see we got into the 30s here. We've got Fish from American Waters, World's Dudes, World Smokers. He must have picked some of these up later. Here's World Sovereigns. That's kind of a popular series, and perhaps one of the most popular series of all the small Ginter issues is the Pirates of the Spanish Main. It's a really cool set there. Looks like you put a lot of the horizontal cards on this page. Did a great job. You know, this person did a great job preserving these cards. But then we get into the large Ginter issues. And keep in mind, the small issues were inserted in packs of cigarettes with 10 cigarettes, whereas these were inserted in larger packages with 20 cigarettes, and the cigarette pack was that size. So same set as the N1s that we see kind of over here, but now they've kind of given a little bit of a kind of a scene that goes along with it. And so this person, I think, was with in Galveston, Texas. So we got a Texas ranch. And so this one is a really cool one, the American Indian Chief's large size. And I don't know the condition of that card on the back. I guess it's going to be a mystery that we'll be able to solve later. But I don't want this to be too long of a video, but at least from the front, that looks like a nice card. Yeah, some of these look really clean. That editor looks clean. The back on that looks decent, so we'll find out after the fact, but not a huge name on the Pirates of the Spanish Main, like the Blackbeard sells for quite a bit. Next page. It's kind of our last couple of the larger Ginter issues. That's a really nice walrus there. That back, yeah, appears decent from what I can tell. World's Champions, it's only a cyclist. Too bad it's not a ball player or something. But this album, I think, set me back about $4,000 for the whole album, which, given a couple of the cards that are in here, is easily worth it. There was a couple that perhaps the rest of the people bidding didn't quite notice, and I'll kind of show you those cards because Taking the top 5 or 6 cards pretty much gets me to where I'm paying for the album. But a little bit of discoloration overall on that particular card. Back has some loss. So from what I can tell, given the amount of wear on the front, that doesn't surprise me. But it is still a World's Champions, the N43s. The next page should start us on, now we are through the Ginter issues, and we are into Duke issues. So Duke starts in N70 and kind of goes on. Some series are really unpopular. The Duke issues just don't seem to be as popular as the Ginter as a whole, but that's not to say there aren't really, really popular series. For example, the Great American series here with John Hancock. That card, if that back is clean, looks like we might have some markings on the back from like in pencil, but not too bad. But that's a really clean example of the Great American set. Got gymnastics, really rough histories of generals. Although the famous, the Poor Boys, that's not a bad Tennyson, you know, for that series, because those are actually little booklets if you didn't realize that. And 80 holidays, jokes, musical instruments. We've got the Terrors of America, and that's a football one, so that's actually a pretty popular card. I already have that whole set, so that one I'm sure is going to be a duplicate. And one of my personal favorite sets of all time is the N86 Scenes of Perilous Occupations. Just really dangerous jobs around the world. And this particular one is Exploring in Africa, a fight with an orangutan. So that native is not doing well in that fight. But that's the first portion of the Duke series. And the Duke smalls go up to about, I think, from N70 to the low 90s. And then they get to the big size Dukes. So these are the small Dukes. And then we get into the bigger Dukes. And we've got another set of these here. These are very similar to like Ginter, where they had the small version that came in the small packs of cigarettes. These came with, typically instead of being with a large package of cigarettes, these came with Honest Long Cut, was sort of their big size brand. But we've got the Habitations of Man, the novelties. This is the key to that set, because it's got the baseball here. The lighthouses are a really condition sensitive set because they're die cut. The musical instruments, these two series, are, I guess that's the same series. There's just an honest version that's not triple fold. And the crosscut or Duke cigarettes came folded in the pack. Snapshots from Puck. This is sort of the chase card from that Rulers and Flags series, and it is Niagara Falls. And since these fold, I can kind of pull that out pretty easily. And so you can kind of see it's a triple fold card. But it's a pretty popular one. Hasn't reached the same, you know, popularity as like the signing of the Declaration of Independence from the T230 set. But as you can see, there's, you know, it likely was at one point once in a album. They may have soaked it or something like that. It just kind of has some discoloration, but not a bad example from that series. But that one's a popular one. That's only found in the triple folds. It's not in the honest set. And moving on. These are more Duke series. In addition to the rulers from around the world, they also had governors and of the different territories. And again, they made the honest set, which was a little smaller, non-triple fold, and then a version that came in the smaller packs. Talk of the Diamond, a baseball series. Looks like we lost the puzzles one. That's a tough series. One of the more underrated series of all time is the N125 puzzles. We got Jokes. This is another really popular series, the Tricks with Cards series. It's not a particularly high grade example. And moving on, we've got more of the large Duke series, and one of them on this page is pretty significant as far as value goes, and it's pretty obvious which one we're talking about. That's the Histories of Generals, Robert E. Lee here. And I don't know, yeah, that one looks decent from the back. Again, I don't want to take them all out and make this too long. But illustrated songs, some of these can be kind of tougher issues. You get into like the Stars of the Stage, those are pretty unpopular ones. The Sea Captains is a fun set. That looks to be a nice example from that set, honestly. And we got the Terrors of America, one of the baseball subjects, the pitcher. So that one should be pretty popular. And again, this book is just kind of falling apart in my hands. Got a couple more of the Duke issues here. Some of the larger ones, none of these are particularly noteworthy. Tougher series. I really like that one because it's flags, and that's the one with the kind of triangular pennant. I think it looks cooler than the rest in the set. And I have one more page over here that I've pulled to the side, and this one has a card that I already removed it just to kind of check it, and it has one of the more significant cards in this album, and that's our Histories of Great Americans, but this is the large version with the 3 different subjects, and this is arguably the best card in that set. The one with Lincoln, I think, is also up there, but it's got Washington, Hamilton, and Hancock, so that's a pretty significant card. It's got some wear. It's got kind of a weak corner up here on the top, but I kind of didn't want that corner to get any more damage, so I removed it by kind of removing that bottom tab here in the corner and then like pulling it out from the top. But that's a really significant card, and cards of people like George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, and to a lesser extent Alexander Hamilton, Hancock, Benjamin Franklin, those kind of guys just have absolutely skyrocketed in value over the last few years. So we'll be placing him, yeah, I'll put him right there. But really significant card. That was one of the main cards I wanted. That, the Robert E. Lee, the Buffalo Bill Cody, and a few of the others. I'll kind of show you the most significant ones as I get to them. And this card was loose when I got the album, so it's loose. But we've got some actors and actresses, Civil War battle scenes, bridges, cowboy scenes. That one looks probably trimmed a little bit, that cowboy scene. It seems narrow. This is kind of a fun set of little folders. And so these are kind of cool because they came originally kind of folded like that, and then you opened it up, and they have sort of like a cool little photo inside, and there can be different designs with the same person. This one does have some, obvious sort of glue that could potentially be maybe some of that removed. It just looks like thick paste, which is very water soluble. But kind of an interesting set that sometimes you can find just the centerpiece, and but this is how they were issued, as sort of a fold open piece. Kind of cool. Probably was pretty eventful for the person getting that at the time. Burlesque Scenes is a tougher Duke series. Again, that one probably looks trimmed on the top and bottom. It's just a little shorter than it should be. So then we get into the photographic Duke cards, and so these are like the N145s, all different series here. And we do have Lillian Russell, kind of right there. I don't know if I've seen that particular example. It's kind of a cool one. The N150s, N151s, we got a non-female subject, which always sell for a little more. N152s, the N155s are the scenes. This is the banks of the Hudson River. That's one of my favorite sets, really underrated. Looks like someone may have made off with the presidential baseball. And here is an original pack. And it's been folded, doesn't have the sleeve, the inner sleeve. But here is a pack of cigarettes, flattened, that would have once had cards in it. So this has kind of been opened, but you could refold that into a pack of cigarettes if you so chose. But we'll keep it flat for the time being. So those are kind of our photographic Duke issues. Now, Duke goes up to about the 150s. And starting in 160, we get into Old Judge, or Goodwin and Company. So here's Goodwin's small issues. Someone stole the ball player. Surprise, surprise. But we've got our Goodwin's Champions, one of the most beautiful sets ever made. That one appears nice. It's just a jockey, so it's not, you know, a ball player or anything like that. We got some really cool ones on this this page. We got the Goodwin's Champs, which appears like a nice example from that. That's a tough series, the Occupations for Women. The N167s, that series, that's actually Topsy from Uncle Tom's Cabin. A lot of people don't realize that that's who that subject is. And that is a pretty significant card, probably valued at a couple $100 at this point. The Dogs of the World, Games and Sports. That one looks, no, it's not thin. Thought that looked thin. This is a kind of an interesting one because that's a tough Goodwin series, but it's not that tough of a Duke issue, but Goodwin also issued it. So I was kind of surprised to see that. The Goodwin ones sell for significantly more. I'll kind of show you that. But normally these are found with Duke cigarettes. This one's got a little notch out of the corner, but yeah, it'll say Old Judge and Dog's Head cigarettes instead of Duke cigarettes. But that's actually a pretty cool card. And again, I apologize if it's making anyone cringe that we're taking this apart, but I will be taking this whole thing apart afterwards. Got an N171 Sarah Bernhardt. That's kind of a cool one, an Old Judge series, and that's the 1888 Old Judge. So they were issuing those alongside the ball players. So after Goodwin comes Kimble. So now we are into the Kimble series, and they start at about 180. So at 180, we've got our ancient coins, and this is a really, really tough series to find, the ancient coins from Kimble. And these ones are kind of cool. Let me see if I can kind of remove this. Because these are, unlike the really, like one of my least favorite sets actually is the N72 Duke coins issue. I really like these ones, because they show ancient coins with the year that they were made, and they are embossed. So they have like an embossment, and it really makes them like pop. But this series is really tough to find. Let's see what the back looks like on this. Yeah, pretty clean. Pretty clean for the issue. A little discoloration maybe on the bottom half, but no damage to it. But you can kind of see the embossment on the front. This series comes either ancient coins or facsimile of ancient coins on the top. The facsimile one I think is harder to find, but I think getting it's a 72 card set. Really tough ones to find though. I really like it. And by like it, I mean I have like 20 or 30 and I've been collecting them for a long time. So with that series, you kind of buy them whenever you can. So the Kimble issues, N81, 181, the Butterflies is a popular one. Here's the Champions of Games and Sports. That's the one that has the 4 ball players. Here we've got Lillian Smith, a champion female glass ball shooter. That's a popular series. The back looks okay. Dancing Girls, yada, yada, yada. The photographic series. That's actually a really tough one to find. That series. You don't see those very often. And I only have like 4 or 5 of those, and I look for them. The N189, the Savage and Semi-Barbarous Chiefs and Rulers of the World, is one of my favorite sets of all time. I don't think it gets the attention that it should get, but that's a fun series. I'm missing, I think, one card for that set, I mean. All right, and is that all the Kimble? Yeah, so we're now, after Kimble, we go right into the Kinney issues, and they start with N210. And that's our N210, the actresses. The set 3, 4, and 5 in that set are almost impossible. I don't think they were ever issued in America or something like that, but they're really hard to find. But Kinney issues tend not to be as popular, I'll be honest. People don't like them as much, but that's not to say there aren't nice cards in here. We've got, some of the actors and actresses. We've got the animals. That's a pretty nice example. Pretty narrow. Those come narrow. So when you see them like that, that's not trimmed. That's just kind of the way those are. I think some of the Kinney issues were just issued a little in thinner packages. We've got Butterflies of the World. There's 50 golds and 10 whites in that set. Some of the different sets. The N222s, unfortunately we didn't have a better, like a Washington or something like that, but so, oh well. And that's a thin version, a narrow version. They come wider too. N225s, they are normally found with the border like this. Tougher are the borderless ones. And Harlequin cards, naval vessels. This is kind of an interesting set. This one has blank back, so sometimes you can find these without people realizing what they are. In 1890, they made a series of 50 cards, and they advertised that they had no Kinney advertising on them. And they just were all different things, like almost like calling cards or invitations that you could use to like invite people to your house for like a New Year's party or something like that. Here's more Kinney issues. I think we might have a loose 1 or 2 on this page. No, one has just been moved over here, and that's the toughest, probably the toughest one on this page is, I'm gonna see if I can salvage this. This is the type 1s here. And those are like the thick, they almost look like pogs. That's a nice back. Those ones are pretty hard to find. They're really thick. They really do feel and look like a pog from the 90s. But that's probably the toughest of these series of the ones that we have here. The type 6s, they don't have any of, but they're like egg-shaped. But that's the toughest one of the ones that we have here. It's kind of a funny one. Came in like a little strip of 3. It's not really nice, although that one's kind of a cool subject, the Eskimo. A transparent playing card. If you hold that up to like a really bright light, like a candle back in the day, you could see a hidden image behind that. Surf Beauties is a cool one. You got the 3 different series of running horses. From my experience, the Trotters is the hardest one to find, and it's not that close. And then the American one's a little bit tougher. The English one's really easy. That's an easy set to complete. But those are the different novelties. And so I think, yeah, we move on to some of the minor issues. And one of the cards on this page is another one of those pretty significant rarities from this album. So we got the Thomas Hall Between the Acts series, and these cards are a lot earlier than people kind of thought they were. And so these date to 1881, 1882, and that's kind of what we know now. Some of these are pretty tough types. These are pretty tough ones, the N343s, and the theatrical types as well down here. But the star of this page is definitely the George Washington here. And probably try to get that off, but I don't want to damage the card. It's really thin. It does have some like pinholes on the top and a little bit of wear, but overall not a bad example of that card. The back appears clean. I don't know if I want to do this right now. Yeah, I'll just do it. It's the best way to get that out is just kind of, yeah, so not too bad on the back. It's complete, even though there's some glue on it. And someone's written the ACC designation 346 up there in pen, so that's not removable, but regardless, I mean, it would get a 1, but it's a pretty solid looking N346 Washington. So another one of those cards that, you know, you take your, you know, 5 or 6 best cards of this album, and it almost pays for what I paid for this album. I was really happy to get it. I was willing to go higher too than kind of what it ended up actually going for. So I was happy with the purchase. So those are the Thomas Hall series. Then we move into the Lorillard issues. And we've got the Sweet Russet N250s. Some of these can be pretty tough. This is a set that I've always liked. I really like these really small little flags. And those ones you don't see very often. But I probably have half a dozen of those cards. And they do have a back. And one of the cool things about this page is these series here, they come with Tiger and 5 Cent Ante as the 2 brands, but really rarely you can find them with the Lorillard Snuff brand. And we got 2 of those here, and they're infinitely harder to find with those backs. So I always pick those up when I can. So I was happy to see that there were 2 of those on here, just as a little added bonus. But so these are Lorillard issues. And in addition, here's 2 more cards that are pretty significant for this in this album. We got the circus card. Those are popular. The actresses and opera roles. But we do have 2 of these prize fighters. And I'm kind of interested. This one looks like it's in pretty rough shape, but it has sort of the 2 hues or tints. We got sort of the sepia or brown tint here with Joe Goss, and we have a kind of greenish tint of the gem mace. I may try to remove the gem mace here real quick and just kind of see. I'm interested to see the condition of the back of this card, because these do have bios, and for whatever reason they're upside down, and that's how you find them. And so you can, it has like the story of Gem Mace. So yeah, that's actually a pretty decent back on that. I'm not going to remove him because he's really kind of creased up and rough, and I don't want to damage that card, so I'll be a little more careful when I remove that one. This one I could see kind of moving around, but these are pretty significant cards, and that's a pretty nice gem mace actually, so I'm happy with that. Another one of those, maybe not like the highest value things on the planet, but again, this album is just literally falling apart. So after Lorillard comes Buckner. So we have some Buckner issues here, including some pretty tough ones. So Buckner, we've got a police inspector card. That card looks nice. This is a really tough one to find. Maybe able to just kind of get this one out because it's thinner. Yeah, that's a nice, just a little bit of pencil writing on the back. This is a puzzle, and when you put it all together, you can kind of see distinctly that that's Grover Cleveland's face and mustache. Looks like a walrus. But with Buckner's Victory Tobacco, it spells out, I think, Cleveland on one side with his face in the middle if you put the cards together in the right way. And on the other side, it spells out Victory. But really cool series. I only have 1 or 2 from this series, and I don't have that one. So another one that is pretty significant. And I won't go into removing all of these, but here's the 284s. This is the same series that has the ball players, but we have a jockey and an actor. They also made police inspectors and baseball players, but we didn't get any of those. And on the next page, now we are getting into Mayo. And it looks like there was more cards in here before, but we didn't get the ball player, the football player, or the prize fighter. Prize fighters aren't worth too much, but would have liked to have had the other two. And Mayo was a New England, or I don't know why it just seems like those always found up in New England, even though it's from Richmond. I just feel like I find a lot of that up in the Boston area for whatever reason. But you know, different sets. This wings of birds of plumage. That looks decent. So different Mayo issues there. Nothing super significant there. So now, I don't think we got any more N cards. I think that was the end of the N series. And now, again, just book falling apart. We're getting into the T series. And a lot of people don't realize, they think T, like T206 stands for tobacco. The T in T206 actually stands for 20th century tobacco cards. But here is the T6 series. And this is one of my favorite sets of all time. And they're just so pretty. And they're actually just large versions. If you've ever seen the N51 college series, this is a larger version of that set with the same photo, but kind of like stylized differently. And this set is significant for having the first ever basketball card. But these two are pretty awesome because they're the two baseball subjects from that series. So we didn't get the basketball, but we did get the two baseball. This one's got, looks like a pinhole, so does that one. I already have this full set. They actually come with two different styles of backs that I'm a glutton for punishment, so I collect both. But I should have some, I think I got a near set of these coming in the mail soon, so I should be able to offer those. But this one's really nice, like the gold on those like really pops. Sometimes they don't, but these two examples are, despite the technical grade with the pinhole, these ones display real nice. So moving on again into the 20th century tobacco cards, the T cards. We got a T7, which those aren't super popular. And then we start at the T25 actors. The T26 actresses are pretty tough and earlier. T27, T28, that one's kind of cool, dirigible. The T37, we got a 36 down here, but it's pretty rough. That's a really popular series. T40s, we got the T38 aviators. Let's check this out. Yeah, it's the gold back on that. They come white backs, but they made a bunch of errors on the white, so they had to remake them. And they had to remake them, and they just added gold to the back so they could correct the errors. Kind of interesting thing. And down in the corner, this nondescript card, the T50 College Pennants, is an insanely rare set of cards. And I don't have a single example, so this is for my type collection. I needed that particular card. So I was really happy to, to get that. And I don't know what those would even sell for. Looks like that's Penn State, but it's different college pennants. And I think there's a little extension over here, a little coupon, but I mean, I'll take any one of those. But so we're into the T's. So here's the next one. So here's those T51s. The first 25 cards in this series were on these large T cards here that we see. And so like this Michigan card, the Michigan T6 is going to be that same image, but better stylized, of that Michigan football player there. So looks like we got Series 1, Series 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There's 150 cards issued in series of 25 each. Another T7, Some of these aren't necessarily too insane. Some of these could. This one looks like it has an emblem back. The T42, that's a tougher back. Sovereign's medium tough. Mecha's common. This was issued, T56 was issued with Hassan or emblem. The T61s, that's a tougher series to find. They come in 2 different back versions, but we won't go into that too much. Going on. T cards again. We've got T53s. T cards are fun because you can like pick up cards in like some of these series for just a few bucks a piece. And that's always kind of nice to be able to complete a full set. We got the T68s. Nobody of like terribly high note or anything like that. Same with the T70s. None of the Lincolns or Washingtons that kind of have been bringing a good amount of money. This is a really tough one, the T63 Leroy cigarettes. General H.W. Lawton is what that says. That's a tough one. I don't have that full series. This set is T73, so that has a marine back. Those are tough to find. All right, moving on. More T cards. I don't want to labor the T's too much because they don't have a ton of value a lot of times. The T80. Let's see, what is this one? Looks like that's a Tolstoy. And we got the die-cut version of the T81s and the non-die cut. The T83s, that's a pretty tough one. I don't know if I have many of the Max Sennett girls from that series. These are not worth much at all. The T96, nothing too significant on this page. The Telenettes are kind of tough ones. I doubt this has much of a, yeah, the T113s. It's a fun one to do all the different types for, but I think there's 29 different backs of 50 cards each, so good luck with that one. Now we're getting into the higher T's and some maybe late editions or something like that. Up-to-date comics, the T108s. We got, this is a package design. These 2 are package designs, so they were cut off the actual inner sleeve. We've got T39. So these are probably some that were added. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to kick that. Added later, just because yeah, those should have been earlier. Those 2. T34s is a tough one. I think I need 1 or 2 for that series. We got some of these not super popular, like fake. Cigar bands, but I'm not gonna lie, some of these I don't remember. We might have a tougher 1 or 2 in there. Yeah, some of those I don't remember that design for, and those are pretty common. So that's those. Oh, and the next page is one of the more significant pages because there was baseball cards. So this is sort of the T200 plus, the sports series cards. And we got Fatima Team of the Philadelphia Nationals. So pretty much probably one of the worst teams to get in that series. But you can kind of see this series really is condition sensitive. So I'm going to pop this out and just see. They're really thin cards. Yeah, see the corner's missing on that. Hope that's not sitting in the little thing over here. No. So it was broken to begin with. But that is the Fatima Teams. They're really thin, and creases tend to turn into breaks. The back is not bad. Someone paid $1.50 for that back in the day. It seemed like a good deal. But these are large cards. And yeah. So the Philadelphia Phillies from 1913. Not a particularly great team. We got... Oh, we got Grover Alexander down here on the bottom. So he is down in the bottom somewhere in that pile of humans. But he's the most significant player there. But yeah, wasn't sure what the condition of this card was going to be. And they tend to be pretty rough. Really hard to find higher than a grade of like 1 or 2 on that, honestly. We got the T202 triple folder. Nobody of note on that, really. We got a T209 that's really rough condition. This is the Contentna. This one looks like it might even be, I'm not sure if that's like laminated or... No, it's just in some cellophane, but it's pretty rough. But that's the Contentna series. And we got a T205 of Barry. Looks like we got Piedmont back on that. The Merkel is Polar Bear. And the T207 is, I'm sure, Recruit. The Baseball Comics over here. We've got an Oback. And we do have, it's not super nice. You can kind of see there's a little pinhole here and here, but we do have the Jack Johnson from that series, and that's a popular one. That's his tougher to find pose of the two. And that's Hassan. Then we've got an early golf card. Those are really popular. Bowler, billiards, aviators. Interesting thing about the aviators, there are all the subjects in that set, except maybe one. I think we're all dead by the time this set came out, and they note their death dates on the back. So kind of morbid, but that's the way that is. But pretty significant card there. Didn't realize it had the pinholes, but again, I think a lot of people that were bidding on this were kind of under the assumption that these were glued in, but they're not, so that's a good thing. And probably maybe the most significant card that we get in the whole album is on this page, and this one I think kind of flew under the radar a little bit, and I'll get to it in a second. But we've got our T220, T219, which is like the T218s, but smaller in size slightly. And those came with honest long cut and minors. The T225 set, and looks like there was like a T3, but I don't know how that would have fit in that little spot because that doesn't make any sense. But maybe it was trimmed or something like that. But we have the champion women's swimmers, but this is the card. And that is a really, really expensive, like significant card there. And that is the T230 World's Champion Duke Kahanamoku. And this dates to 1912. Let's see if I can kind of get this out. I just want to see what the condition on this card is. So yeah, kind of weak corners. It looks like maybe he bent that corner to get it in or something like that. But that is the Duke Kahanamoku card. Someone's noted the ACC designation, but I've been looking for one of these for quite some time. And this one I feel like kind of flew under the radar in this album. This card brings a lot of money. You know, he is kind of like a god in Hawaii. Godfather of surfing and, you know, Olympic swimmer. At this point, right, this is from 1912. So at this point here, it was talking about him being an Olympic swimmer. So it says, yeah, Duke Kahanamoku, who broke all records at swimming contests in the Stockholm Olympic, is a Hawaiian, and like all of his countrymen, has been used to the water for almost from his very birth. Caucasians have very little chance against the Hawaiians. But really, really cool card. I've been looking for a Duke T230 for a long time. So I was really excited about this one. but it's one of the main cards I was wanting out of this album. But yeah, I think we're pretty much towards the end. We've got a couple of these Red Man's 1950s Red Man cards with the tabs, but nobody of really note, no great players or anything like that. But those are fun either way, and I'm pretty sure that's the end of the album. I don't think there was anything else in here. Yeah. So that is the album. And again, I'll kind of put some of the more significant cards out for us to see. But I feel like got some pretty cool, you know, types and everything in this album. But it's an awesome little piece of history, and you know, I was really excited to get it, and I will be taking this apart, and you know, some of these cards are duplicates, and I'll be kind of adding that to my eBay store. And I know I don't post in as many videos as I should, but I should be kind of adding to my page, my YouTube channel soon. Be sure to subscribe so that you get, you know, notifications when I do upload videos, and I am going to be trying to upload a lot more videos and in the new year. So thanks for taking that little journey with me on this vintage type collection. And if you like these videos, I'd love to, you know, interact with anybody in the comments. And if you have anything you'd like no obligation offers on, or if you just want information about anything you might have, let me know. And thanks for stopping by, and as always, happy collecting.